Well, that was the sight last weekend when we flew from Ironbridge, the birthplace of the first industrial revolution, to North Wales, Festiniog, for the weekend, the Gawad, fantastic part of the National Festival of Creativity Unbox 2022 Festival. Fantastic weekend. It's not perfect. We've got a lot of comments to make about that. But here we are, as we sit here now, live and direct from the USA. We are cutting across to SpaceX, their launch complex, for the launch of Crew 5, which is the 5th human crewed mission that SpaceX have flown. The last one being Crew 4, and of course Inspiration 4.
And the hostess looking out at what one of my coworkers called a picnic vibe, with the media and NASA social folks all joined here to watch Crew 5 launch in just
Crew
about
access
42
arm
minutes.
retraction complete.
And as you can see, they're on T-42 at the moment. So T-42 over there with SpaceX. So exciting. I'm actually not in North Wales. I'm actually in a school playground, believe it or not, just down here in Poole in Dorset in England, in the UK. And if we cut across there, you'll see that we've had a fantastic day today. The children have been making rockets. They've been making things from cardboard. And they've all gone home because it's currently about 4:20 here. They left at 3:30. I'm going to have to pack up pretty soon. So I'm going to have to go outside and start packing up. I've got to take that Mars base camp, that's Mars planet we built there. And we've got another camera actually over here. So we can actually cut to the NASA footage on a screen we've got set up in the playground there.
On a beautiful bluebird day at the Kennedy Space Center. Our Crew 5, is in their seats at the very top of that rocket, inside the capsule Endurance, making its second flight. There they are, from left to right. Cosmonaut Anna Kikina, Josh Cassada, Nicole Mann, and Koichi Wakata.
And Daryl, they're getting into position to begin their procedure that'll have them arming that launch escape system that you mentioned. They'll be able to hear some clicking of valves and follow along on their display screen as once they've kicked off that procedure, as the vehicle kind of catches up and completes that arming sequence. And as you know, once the fueling operations begin, the crew has to be ready to potentially launch somewhere if there was some sort of a problem. And so that launch escape system needs to be in place and armed in preparation for that fueling operation to begin.
So as I say, I've got to pack up. In fact, I think I'll probably just pop outside now and show you what's going on outside, actually. Bear with me just a second. I don't know if we've got anybody watching. So look, we've got any audience here? Let's have a look. Couple of people there. Okay, well, if you'd like to pop a comment in, do pop a comment in on the bottom of the screen. I'm just going to put a banner up here. I'm just going to change the copy there.
You'll also see them ensure that their feet are in the appropriate locked-in position, their straps are tight, because again, should that system be required, they might be going for a pretty significant dynamic ride. But of course, we don't expect that to happen today, but they'll have that system in place just in case as the appropriate safety measure.
Yeah, Bob, that launch escape system, powered by Super Draco engines, capable of moving Dragon a half a mile in just 7.5 seconds, which is equivalent to a peak velocity of 436 miles per hour. I know you know this.
So I'm going to go and cut to the outside camera and I'll show you what we've been up to today.
Very aware
Hold
of
on
its
a second.
capabilities.
Absolutely, Daryl. And for shuttle systems, the crew would really have to do a lot of manual activities to steer the vehicle, appropriate escape or abort the scenarios as we talk
Yeah, so here we are outside now. So basically, this is what I call the Starship. It's a camper van that we bought with funding as part of our £1 million appeal to raise £1 million to inspire 1 million kids to aim as higher than my height is, if you think that's possible. We go into schools, we make cardboard models of Mars, cardboard models of absolutely anything. This is a model Starship that we built to inspire the kids to maybe go to base Mars with Elon Musk one year when he takes 1 million people to Mars. This is a rocket launcher here from Air Rocket Works in the USA. Keith and Rick, they make those for us, and we ship those across to the UK. Safety glasses and everything there. This is a phenomenal system. It goes to 130 psi, and we can pump that up, and then we get a phenomenal release of pressure. Just, I mean, it would do 200 feet high in the sky. That's the remnants there of an S-Days rocket launch, and the rocket launch kit there. We launched an S-Days rocket there. This is our SpaceX Starlink satellite dish. That's giving us an internet connection into our video mixer there. And then this is our Steamco truck. This has got everything you need to run a creativity session, a creativity day, a Steamco day in a primary school. Coding kits, rocket kits, cardboard modelling, everything you need there. And we're just packing this all up now. So I've got to get this packed up. I'm going to have to get off site fairly soon. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut back to the feed, and anybody who wants to sort of join us and watch that launch when it comes around at 5 o'clock our time, then can certainly do that.
Falcon 9 tanks will be venting for the start of prop load. Expect loud venting.
They tried to capture with the Demo 1 audio, if you will. But as you heard in the comm that just came through there, you need to get reminded to expect loud venting during some of the operations. And these are new things from my perspective, but you've been briefed on how you can.
We have a person inside that capsule right now have never flown to space before. They are first time flying balloon reception. Luigi Okada. Veteran, JAXA, and he's getting ready to embark on his 5th space. As we wait for the next mark,
The cruise experience, whether it's a space shuttle or a Soyuz or the Dragon vehicle or Starliner or Artemis, as we move towards that, these experiences are all slightly different. So I'm excited to hear Luigi's discussion as he tries to balance and describe all three of them side by side when he gets back to this issue.
I'd love to hear him talk about the comparisons. Only a few astronauts like that have been able to fly on all three fields.
Yes, and as we go forward here with the Artemis missions coming forward, I'm excited to have folks compare and contrast their Orion experience, their SLS experience.
Just a few seconds now. Awaiting confirmation. Loading power into the Falcon 9 rocket. Beautiful shot there. Circle launch pad. Seconds until that call out.
Propellant loading has started.
So it begins. Loading of propellant aboard the Falcon 9 rocket. Liquid oxygen, RP-1. Propellant and oxidizer blend together. Wait for combustion. Millions of pounds of thrust. 5 in space.
Details to that operation there. Each of the stages, as you mentioned, oxidizer and fuel loading. We'll follow along with that carefully as the loading operation commences. If there was any reason for them to need to stop that operation, the crew would expect that propellant loading to kind of be backed out.
now from @Grant B117, who asks, how long does it take to complete the fueling operation?
That's a great question, Daryl, and they started it at 35 minutes because that's really hard to lift off, because that's really how long it takes for the loading operations to kind of get executed. The crew goes through the process, the ground team of loading that propellant, ensuring that they get the proper commodities on board. The actual sequencing of things might be affected a little bit by the temperature on a given day, but they have that process well monitored. They begin at 35 minutes because that's how long it takes to get the rocket all filled up.
Answering those questions, and to you out there for asking the questions, keep them coming. #AskNASA. And again, now that fueling for Falcon 9 has started, that means the 8 Super Draco engines inside Crew Dragon ready, if needed, launch the capsule away from Falcon 9 instantly. Any kind of emergency associated with the rocket or the pad. The NASA and SpaceX teams have trained extensively for exactly that type of contingency. And so now let's go over to Kate Tice at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. Cover operations update. Kate.
Thanks, Daryl. You can probably tell by the background noise that things are starting to get more exciting now that we're just practically 30 minutes away from launch of Crew 5, certainly counting down the final minutes. Everything's still looking good for Falcon 9 and Dragon. With that launch escape system now armed, we are heading for an on-time launch just 32 minutes from now. As you saw, Falcon 9 propellant load began right on time at T-minus 35 minutes. The first and second stages of Falcon 9 are each loaded with 2 liquid propellants. One is fuel, which is loaded into a tank at the bottom of each stage. The other is an oxidizer, and that's loaded into a tank at the top of each stage. The fuel that we use to power the Merlin engines is a refined kerosene, referred to as RP1 or rocket propellant 1. The oxidizer loaded on each stage is a densified liquid oxygen, or LOX. Densified means that it's kept much colder than typical for launch vehicles, and it takes up less volume. And as such, this allows for more oxidizer to be loaded into the
engines will throttle down to help pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket, or what we typically refer to as max Q. At this point in time, the vehicle will be going supersonic. Again, about 2.5 minutes into flight, we have a series of 3 events that happen in succession. The first is ECO, or main engine cutoff, and this is where all 9 Merlin 1D engines shut off in preparation for stage separation, which is, of course, our second event. This is where the first stage detaches from the second stage, and the first stage will make its way back to Earth for landing, while the second stage continues on its journey with the third event, which is SES-1, or second stage engine start number 1, and this is where the MVAC engine lights up and propels the second stage back on Earth for astronauts to orbit.
As Stage 2 heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit, Stage 1 will execute 2 burns in order to make its way back down to Earth. The first is the exit burn, and that's where 3 of the 9 LED engines will reignite and shut down. This helps to slow the stage down in preparation for entry back into the process.
While the first stage is heading back to Earth, the second stage will cut off its 1 Merlin engine that was ignited right after stage separation. Once this happens, we will wait for confirmation of a good orbital insertion.
About 90 seconds after Dragon gets into orbit, Falcon 9 will land back on Earth. The landing burn is just a single engine burn, powerful enough to bring the vehicle's speed down rapidly or a touchdown on the droid ship at about 9.5 minutes into the mission.
While Falcon 9's first stage is landing, Dragon is preparing to separate from the second stage. About 3 minutes after the second stage gets into orbit, we should have a great view of Dragon with its 4-person crew drifting away from the second stage. Once Dragon is a short distance away, we'll begin checking out its Draco flying thrusters to make sure Dragon continues to increase separation distance from the second stage. And it is worth noting that these are not the Super Draco engines that would be used during the event.
About 40 seconds after separation, Dragon's nose cone deploy sequence will begin. It will take roughly 4 minutes for the nose cone heads to unlatch and open, exposing its guidance navigation controls that will help Dragon autonomously fly to the space station.
And lastly, once the nose cone is deployed, the remaining Draco thrusters on the forward bulkhead will be checked. From there, over the next 29 hours, Dragon will be in its rendezvous and approach phases, undergoing a number of phasing burns as it makes its way back to station. All that will be coming up soon, but for now, let's check back in with Shaniqua in Mission Control Houston. Shaniqua?
Thanks, Sarah. Flight Control is here, and Mission Control Houston are laser focused on the onboard systems of the space station, making sure it is ready to receive Dragon vehicle tomorrow. We're also making sure communication links between the station, Dragon, and the ground are working properly. The consensus right now is that everything is proceeding optimally. Teams here in Mission Control Houston, the team in Hawthorne, and the astronauts aboard the space station will monitor the autonomous docking of the Dragon spacecraft tomorrow evening. They'll perform a series of leak checks, then work to open the hatches both on the Dragon side and inside the space station's pressurized manual dock. We expect hatch opening to take place around an hour and a half after docking. And once aboard, the astronauts will be greeted by Station Commander Samantha Christopher Raden, and then the whole station crew will join in for welcoming remarks to the new crew members. Now, due to critical science, this welcoming remarks will be about 90 minutes after the crew is on board. Once on board, the crew members will no longer be referred to as Crew 5, but rather as flight engineers of the International Space Station. Here in Mission Control, Flight Director Whitney and console overseeing the team for launch, and we'll be back tomorrow for docking. We'll be on air continuously through Crew 5's arrival, but live coverage of docking is expected tomorrow around 4:57 p.m. Eastern Time. That's it from now. From Mission Control Houston, I'll toss it back to the team in Florida. Daryl, how's it looking?
Well, it's wonderful out here, Shaniqua. Wish you could be here. We got picnic weather out here at the Fresh.
Oh, well done. Where was that?
Down in the office. Someone took it down to the office.
Oh, brilliant.
Launch of Crew 5 from the historic Launch Complex 39A. A beautiful sweeping shot of the lawn. We have our Trident shotgun here as we take our coverage to the next level at the final 23 minutes of liftoff. Now, the countdown right. We're just seconds away from the 5th astronaut rotation mission to the International Space Station with NASA's Commercial Crew Program. Commander Nicole Mann, pilot Josh Cassidy, mission specialist Koichi Wakata, Anna Kikina are strapped into their seats inside Dragon Endurance at the very top of this rocket here. We can we're listening into the communications as they talk live to the Falcon 9 team. The rocket is fueling, the operation is doing well, and the launch escape system is on. Of course, that means Dragon is prepared to launch itself away from the Falcon 9 rocket in case of an emergency. So far, operations are sounding as expected. We're counting down to liftoff at just after noon, 12 p.m. and 57 seconds after the hour Eastern time. There was a 1 second. That's pretty typical, as happens when we get to this stage of the mission. The mission is the continuation of rotational crew flights to the International Space Station from U.S. soil on private rockets and spacecraft. Of course, this would not have been possible without the success of the NASA SpaceX Demo 2 test flight now 2 years ago, and of course the safe delivery and return of crews 1, 2, 3, and eventually here in about a week, crew 4. Of course, we're happy to have the pilot from Demo 2, and that's Bob Behnken. Appreciate you being here, been giving us some great thoughts and explanations about everything that's been happening.
Well, thank you, Daryl. I'm super excited to be here for Crew 5 and get a chance to relive my experience during the Demo 2 mission.
And it's been a great one so far. We've watched the crew get into the capsule. We've watched, they worked through a couple of issues early on, but those have been cleared. A suit leak check and a hatch leak check that had to be double checked. Now we're rolling along and moving towards liftoff. A couple things that are coming up as we count down. We're going to have stage 2 RP1 load complete. That's in 20 seconds. A few seconds later, we'll get strong back chill. That will begin in order to set the stage for the stage 2 liquid oxygen load. Of course, propellant's load is not an exact science, but once it completes, we'll hear that call out.
Stage 2 RP1 load is complete.
And there you heard it. Let's talk a little bit about the crew. If you're just joining us, we have a 4-person crew that we call Crew 5, and it's commanded by Nicole Mann. She holds a Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering and is a colonel in the Marine Corps. She was an FA-18 Hornet and Super Hornet test pilot and deployed twice aboard aircraft carriers in support of combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. Nicole was selected by NASA in June of 2013, and in the years that followed, led the astronaut corps in the development of hardware for our Artemis program. Today, the Crew 5 commander will be flying into space for the first time, and once she reaches space, she will be the first Native American woman to stay on station. A historic first for NASA and for her.
Absolutely, Daryl. The astronaut corps is widely diverse, and I'm just proud to see Nicole join that crew on board the International Space Station.
With her is pilot Josh Cassidy. He grew up in Bear Lake, Minnesota. The physicist and U.S. Navy test pilot flew the P-3C and the P-8A, as well as 23 combat missions. He later became an instructor at the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School, which is a path to NASA for military officers. Cassidy is one of more than 100 graduates who have become astronauts, going all the way back to the Mercury program. More recently, he served as capsule communicator and mission control, but today he is the pilot aboard Dragon.
It's a seat I know well, and I look forward to seeing Josh support Nicole and the rest of the crew on their way towards the International Space Station.
The mission specialist now, Koichi Wakata, he's the veteran, a Japanese astronaut who has a doctorate in aerospace engineering. In 1996, he became the first Japanese mission specialist aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour for STS-72. Altogether, Koichi flew 4 space shuttle missions, a Roscosmos Soyuz, and was on a long-duration stay aboard the International Space Station. During his 2-decade career as an astronaut, Koichi has spent 11 months in space. Bob, you spent a fair amount of time in space yourself. It's great to have a veteran aboard.
It absolutely is. And in addition to being a veteran, Koichi just has a wonderful personality that I know is just it's key to kind of success on board the space station.
Our second mission specialist is Roscosmos cosmonaut Anna Kikina. She graduated from the Novosibirsk State Academy of Water Transport in 2006. In 2012, Anna officially became a candidate for the position of test cosmonaut. Crew 5 will be Anna's first flight into space, along with 2 of her other fellow astronauts. Now, each of these 4 crew members will be part of Expedition 68 once they arrive at the International Space Station. And there you see them there inside Crew Dragon Endurance, the second flight for this Dragon. I want to let you know, if you're here locally, you want to step outside and enjoy the launch, we've got a small radio. You can pick us up on VHF radio frequency 146.940 on the megahertz scale, and on UHF radio frequency 444.925 megahertz FM mode. You can hear that all within Brevard County, right here on the beautiful Space Coast. And you can see the...
Stage 2 LOX load has started.
Just got the call out that the Stage 2 LOX load has started, putting that liquid propellant into the second stage. Let's check back in with Kate Tice and get an update from Hawthorne. Kate?
Thanks, Daryl. We are T-minus 16 minutes away from launch, and everything continues to look great for Falcon 9 and Dragon. Falcon 9 began prop load at T-minus 35 minutes. The loading of RP-1 fuel on the second stage is complete. That finished at T-minus 20 minutes. Fuel loading continues on the first stage. It is almost complete. That should be wrapping up here momentarily. Densified liquid oxygen loading is underway on both the first and second stages. Those look to be about 80% on the first stage, and has only just recently begun on the second stage. So not much there yet. That will wrap up at T-minus 3 minutes and T-minus 2 minutes respectively. Now, as for checkouts of thrust vector controllers, what we call TVC wiggles, those are coming up. We basically check to make sure that the thrust vector controllers are able to actuate the engines themselves. That's what helps create gimbal for those engines, and gimbaling is actually how Falcon 9 steers itself. So those are coming up, along with throttle valve checkouts on the engines. The Dragon mission director and team are currently reporting no issues, so really good on that front. Communication checkouts are complete. The crew access arm is retracted, as we can see there, and the crew is strapped in and ready to go, as you can see there on the right-hand side of your screen. Everybody continuing to monitor prop load there on their crew monitors. Now, final instructions to the crew come at T-minus 10 minutes. At that point, their crew displays will be configured for launch. This setup gives the crew insight into how the launch is proceeding and provides constant updates on vehicle health. At T-minus 5 minutes, we'll hear the call out that will be in terminal count, and at that point, Dragon will transition to internal power. We'll hear continued call outs on the countdown nets as we get closer to liftoff. As for range, they continue to be go, continuing to monitor the launch corridor, and everything remains green. As for weather, we're looking at 7-mile-per-hour winds at the launch site. And as I said before, as the countdown continues, we are seeing fewer and fewer clouds. Just an absolutely stunning day there at Kennedy Space Center. Let's check back in with Daryl to see the last couple minutes prior to liftoff.
Thanks, Kate, and it really couldn't be more perfect out here weather-wise for a launch. How about that, Bob?
It just looks absolutely stunning to look out and see the vehicle ready to go, the crew on board, strapped in. I'm just super excited for them.
And there's a view of the countdown clock, and the historic American flag that has been standing there since the space shuttle program. Now you're looking at a pic of Crew 5. Crew 5 flying aboard the Dragon capsule Endurance, and the booster that you see behind them that they're posing with is a brand new one. Actually was damaged in transit from California to Texas, but it was fixed, repaired. Crew did a great job, the SpaceX team, in getting it all ready. And at the time that Falcon 9 launches Dragon to space, the International Space Station will be 260 statute miles over Australia. Crew 5 will then spend the next 21 hours with Mission Control Team that you see there in Houston, standing by, getting ready for the beginning of this mission. They'll spend 29 hours rather, chasing down the International Space Station for a rendezvous at 4:57 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow evening. One of the longer transits, Bob.
It's true. It's a little bit longer than usual, or average, I would say, as we work towards Crew 5. But as the launch dates shift around, that changes the time that you can actually arrive on Space Station. They've got plenty of consumables, so it should be fun to have some time in space.
And when they arrive tomorrow evening, we'll have live coverage on NASA TV of docking, as well as the Crew 5 welcome ceremony at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:15 p.m. Central. And some final thoughts, Bob, as we get ready to watch Crew 5 launch into space.
You know, my opportunity to sit here and watch Crew 5 go has just been inspiring again to see another vehicle head towards the International Space Station. Again, I'm excited for them, and just hopeful that Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna have just a wonderful mission. I know that they've got a wonderful launch in front of them.
Absolutely, and that's what we're rooting for here. And so with T-minus 11 minutes and counting, we're going to spin our chairs around and watch the launch. But we're going to let Kate and the team focus on the pad as we proceed through the final stretch of the countdown. I'll turn it over to Kate Tice at SpaceX headquarters in California to take us through. Take it away, Kate.
Thanks, Daryl. As you can probably tell by the background noise, the crowd is definitely growing here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Certainly one of our company traditions is to watch the launch itself from behind Mission Control, which you see there on your screen. You can see this is Mission Control Hawthorne, or as you sometimes hear referred to as MCCX. And then, of course, a crowd of employees watching from behind. I personally also stand there if I'm not doing the webcast, so I can confirm it's a great spot to watch launch. Like I said, as you can see, the energy is certainly starting to grow now that we're about to hit T-minus 10 minutes. Beautiful view there of Falcon 9 and Dragon on the pad, ready to take Crew 5 to space.
We did discuss
Dragon, SpaceX, confirm crew displays are configured for launch.
Yoko, we would like to give a huge thanks to the NASA and SpaceX team, the thousands of people for their development, preparation, and training in getting Endurance and Crew 5 to the launch pad today, and your continued support in helping to make this a successful mission. We look forward to joining the rest of our Expedition 68 crew members aboard the International Space Station. And a special thanks on behalf of all the crew to our family and friends. It is your love and support that help make dreams come true. Now let's do this. Crew 5 displays are configured for launch.
Copy, and Nicole, Josh, Koichi, and Anna, on behalf of the entire team at SpaceX, good luck, Godspeed, and enjoy the ride.
And those words from Nicole Mann, the first female commander of a Dragon, as she thanked the many folks that have helped get them to this point. We're now less than 9 minutes away from launch today. Upon liftoff, you'll hear a number and letter combinations which mark different abort zones throughout the flight, as well as some performance calls. The first two are 1 and 1B, and those signify the first stage and will last up to the very north tip of North Carolina. The next are 2A through 2E, and those will come into play once the second stage kicks in, lasting from the top of North Carolina all the way to the tip of Newfoundland in the northern Atlantic.
You'll also hear a spot that is to be avoided, and you might hear Shannon or forward to Shannon, and that actually refers to Shannon, Ireland, meaning they would target off the east coast of Ireland if they were later in that second stage and did need to abort for some reason. So the next major milestone that we're looking towards will come just seconds from now, and that will be when engine chill begins on the first stage of the engine.
That's right. So engine chill is basically when we take a little bit of that super chilled densified liquid oxygen and we flow it through the turbo pumps of the Merlin M1D engines on the first stage. This helps to prepare the turbo pumps and avoid any thermal shock to the hardware when they see the full flow of liquid oxygen during ignition. We're also expecting the conclusion of prop load for the RP1 on first stage to wrap up at T-6 minutes. LOX load continues to be underway on both first and second stages, again wrapping those at T-3 minutes and 2 minutes.
And after that, we'll hear a number of call-outs related to Dragon's flight computer. Some will be
Stage 1 engine chill has started.
And you did just hear that call out that stage 1 engine chill has begun. Coming up in just about 45 seconds, we should expect to hear that RP1 load is complete. RP1 load is that densified kerosene or rocket fuel that will help propel the crew into orbit. All of that RP1 is loaded into the first stage, and we are standing by to hear that it was loaded into the second stage as well.
Again, we expect that to wrap at T-6 minutes. The venting that you see on screen is totally normal. That is just some
Stage 1 RP1 load is complete.
Great news there that RP1 load is now finished. As I was saying, the venting that you see on the vehicle is totally normal. That's just some of the super chilled densified liquid oxygen just vaporizing as it comes into contact and vents from the vehicle.
And coming up, we'll also hear the call for Dragon to configure for terminal count, and then it will be transferred over to internal power, and then we'll hear that propellant tanks on Falcon 9 are getting ready to pressurize, which helps add some additional rigidity and structural support as we get ready for strong back retract.
That strong back will retract a couple of degrees at first, and then we will see it swing open completely just shortly or at the moment of
Falcon 9
liftoff.
tanks will be pressurizing for strong back retract.
Right, and there's that indication that we are preparing for that strong back retraction.
Coming up in just a few seconds, we should hear that Dragon is in terminal count.
Dragon is in configure for terminal count.
All right, there we heard that call. Dragon onboard computers have now taken control of the vehicle. As I mentioned before, first stage LOX with liquid oxygen loading is underway and will wrap up at T-3 minutes. And the second stage will wrap its LOX load at T-2 minutes. Launch teams continue to report no issues and everything remains green and for an on-time launch.
Retract has started.
And here in just a couple seconds, you might be able to see the strong back arm as it does begin to retract. As Kate said, it will recline 2 degrees.
We can just barely make out that the clamp arms are now beginning to move. All right, now that those clamp arms are removed, as Sandra said, this will retract by 2 degrees, and then at liftoff, the strong back will retract another to 45 degrees, allowing Falcon 9 to clear. Strong back is part of the transporter erector, and the transporter erector is what provides the liquids, the gases, and the electrical connections to the vehicle. It's also what we use to integrate the vehicle in its horizontal position, and we can see that 2-degree retraction just now complete.
And And the next call out that we should hear in about 20 seconds is that the first stage LOX load is complete.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And there we go, all of the oxidizer loaded on stage 1. Soon we'll hear that stage 2 LOX load is complete, and that will be the last propellant call out we'll hear today. Now less than 3 minutes until launch.
Dragon is in terminal count and is on internal power.
All right, there we heard the good news that Dragon is now on internal power. Again, the white clouds that you see there at the base of the Dragon trunk, totally normal. That's just the vapor from the liquid oxygen. Again, second stage now wrapping up its LOX load. Excuse me, first stage wrapping up its LOX load just a few minutes ago, and now moving toward wrap up of second stage LOX load, which will complete at T-minus 2 minutes.
Coming up on 2 minutes until liftoff, standing by for word that stage 2 LOX load has been completed.
Dragon is in auto idle.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
There we heard the call out. Falcon 9 is now completely fueled. All of its propellants, so
Gas closeouts are starting. Expect loud venting.
all of its propellants, and we can see that leftover liquid oxygen now being vented or released, now flowing further away from the vehicle. So nearly 1 million pounds of liquid oxygen in RP1 now on board Falcon 9. It is fully loaded and ready for launch.
And coming up at T-minus 1 minute, we'll hear that Dragon is in countdown. Its flight computer will switch to countdown mode, and we'll hear that the flight termination system on Falcon 9 is armed.
FPS is armed. Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling.
And there you heard it,
Dragon is in countdown.
Dragon's flight computer in countdown. The flight termination system now armed.
We should get the final go for launch from SpaceX launch director Mark
Dragon,
Schultes.
SpaceX. Godspeed. Go for launch.
SpaceX Dragon, go for launch.
SpaceX
T-minus 30
reports go.
seconds.
Crew reports go. 30 seconds until liftoff.
T-minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Engines full power. And liftoff.
We're launching live, Crew 5 SpaceX mission off to the International Space Station. Live restreams here from the UK in the back of the truck. Fantastic, it's gone.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Vehicle is pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
And I'm literally in the back of this truck. I've just had a mission to Mars Day with children here at Bearwood Primary. And I've literally
35 seconds into the 5th rotational crew mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
I've literally been sitting here packing a Starship of our own onto the back of the truck there. I don't know if you can see the camera. Yeah, you can just see the the Starship there, our own Starship. We've just packed that onto the back of the truck.
Throttling down to help.
And meanwhile, on the Space Coast over there, Kennedy Space Center, they've just launched Crew 5 off to the space station. Wow, amazing.
There we just heard that the vehicle's now traveling faster than the speed of sound. Once through Max Q, we'll throttle those Merlin engines back.
And I'm here on our cardboard Mars base camp using a bit of green screen magic. Fantastic.
Stage 1 Bravo.
Copy. 1 Bravo.
What we will see coming up fairly soon, the booster will separate and then come back and land. There's the booster. That is a live webcam on the top of that booster of the rocket. On top of the booster is a space capsule with 4 people going off to the space station, Crew 5 they're called. the 5th manned crew mission for SpaceX, the privately funded space company taking astronauts literally to the space station.
There you heard that call out. And then we'll have MECO, or main engine cutoff, where the 9 engines igniting will cut off in preparation for second stage separation.
And you'll see them separate, and then the booster will come and land on a robot landing base. And the amazing thing is, this is what I've been talking to these kids about today. I've been talking about this. I've been talking about SpaceX. We've been showing these videos and talking to the kids, the art of rockets, the art of a young man who literally read every book in his school and ended up running SpaceX. I mean, whatever you think, Elon Musk is one hell of a guy.
Those 9 Merlin engines are beginning to throttle down in preparation for MECO, or main engine cutoff.
B2 Alpha.
There we should see that second engine begin to ignite now. And obviously confirmed by the loud cheer behind us here at Mission Control Hawthorne.
So basically the booster has separated from the capsule, which has got the people in it. You'll see the flaps coming out on the left-hand side there. That's now coming back to Earth. Those flaps will control the descent of that booster. On the right, you've actually got the capsule with the 4 people in it. That's off the space station. And then on the left is the booster that's now coming back to Earth. Gravity is going to pull that down, and that's going to land, literally, they're going to land that on a robot landing base the size of a tennis court. I mean, it's phenomenal.
We will be did on our drone ship, which today we are using Just Read the Instructions.
Acquisition signal, Bermuda.
And we did hear that acquisition of the ground station in Bermuda. The first stage is continuing to make its way back to Earth, and the second stage is going to continue.
SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Another good call, trajectory nominal.
Dropped in copy.
Confirmation there from Commander Nicole Mann. You can also sort of see the Space Coast there in the background of the first stage on the left-hand side of your screen. It also looks like you can actually see the thrust plume created by the first stage as it's now rotating just out of screen.
Second stage is going to continue firing until a little over 8 minutes into the flight, really doing the heavy lifting now, getting the crew into orbit.
Everything continues to look nominal on both first and second stages. As I mentioned before, the first stage will be making a landing on one of our drone ships, which is currently parked a couple hundred miles off the coast of Florida in the Atlantic Ocean. So we can see now that...
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Good confirmation there that we have good trajectory.
The second stage now over 5,400 miles per hour. Crew is pulling a little more than 1 G right now. That's going to continue to ramp up, peaking just before we get to second stage cutoff here in just a few minutes from now.
First stage will be performing 2 separate burns, a re-entry burn where we reignite 3 of the Merlin M1D engines on the first stage. We ignite the center engine into radial engines to help slow it down as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. And then the second final burn, and that will be the landing burn on our drone ship.
And the single MVAC engine that you see.
Trajectory nominal.
The single MVAC engine that you see on the right of your screen is continuing to fire. We did hear another call out that trajectory is nominal. Crew heading in the direction that they are supposed to be.
So as you can see there, on the left-hand side, the booster is coming back to Earth now. We're restreaming this live from literally from a playground in a school in England in Dorset. We've had a fantastic day here today with the children on our Mission to Mars tour, making rockets, making things out of cardboard, having the most fantastic time. And I can't believe that there's been a live stream, a live launch even. And that's now coming into land on the left-hand side.
Our 4 Crew 5 astronauts launched from Kennedy Space Center.
You can see the altitude there on the right of the boost of the capsule, and on the left is the altitude of the speed. Is that the?
Safe inside Dragon Endurance, whereas the first
No, it's velocity and altitude. I don't understand why the altitude's not changing for the booster on the left.
We are coming up to the re-entry burn.
Unless that's the boost, that must be the capsule altitude. Because the speed is increasing. I guess, yeah, that would increase, wouldn't it, as it's coming into land? There's no parachutes on it. They're going to have to put the engines on. Right, so they're burning the engines now on the left-hand side. They're burning the engines now on the left-hand side so that they can slow that down. You'll see the speed come down. It's up to 18,000 kilometers an hour at the moment. And if you watch that,
we'll be in the final different abort phases here shortly, which essentially correspond to areas along the very northeastern seaboard.
Now that's just coming. You can see the clouds coming in below there. The clouds are coming in to view, so it's coming down into land now. That speed has got to come down. They'll burn the engines and that'll slow it down. On the right is the capsule heading off to the ISS.
Everything continues to look nominal for both the first and second stages.
And hello, shout out to Bearwood Rose Lily. Bearwood Rose Lily. Hello, lovely to see you there. Were you at the school today? Hope you were, and hope you had a great day. Lovely to see you all.
Still attached is now traveling over 13,000 miles per hour.
We're about 10 seconds away from SECO 1.
Copy, Shannon.
Shannon, that call out for Shannon, Ireland, indicative of our final abort zone. After this, we'll see second stage shut off, and we'll be listening for confirmation of a good orbit, which tells us the crew and Dragon are exactly where they need to be.
And there we had confirmation that the MVAC has shut down simultaneously. The entry.
Dragon SpaceX nominal orbit insertion.
And you heard that call for a good insertion. We will coast for a few minutes.
There we can see the drone ship coming into view as Falcon 9.
Okay, so it's just about to land on the drone ship.
You can see those landing legs have now deployed. And as you can see on your screen, and you can hear...
And I can honestly say it's one of the best landing videos I've ever seen. I haven't seen that many, but...
Ship just read the instructions, parked off the coast of Florida.
So that was literally landed from space on a drone ship the size of a tennis court. I mean, this is phenomenal precision.
Minutes now. We do coast for a few minutes after second engine cutoff to allow any rates.
And on that point, I'm actually going to
dampen out and settle. And looks like we're going to get a view of the second stage.
So that's going to go off to the International Space Station. Thank you so much for joining us. I've got to get out of this school playground now. Thanks for joining us. See you all another day. Here's our little launch film. If you can spare a quid to help me inspire a kid, please do chip in. Wired Magazine and The Guardian have said I'm a man on a mission after I co-founded a non-profit 10 years ago to promote creativity with the community of my son's primary school in Paddington. I'm just a dad, but I'm passionate about creativity in our schools, work and lives, and I'm now on a mission to raise £1 million to inspire 1 million kids, and I need your help. 3 years ago, the Culture Minister told us about the government's plans to run a year-long festival of creativity and innovation that we wanted to be part of. We launched our Art Connects 19 year in Parliament and ran community events in school communities